3 days out, I think it's 3 days out if my memory serves me right, the convoy broke up and everybody sailed under their own separate orders. We sailed on the 4th of August, and on the 8th of August it was my duty. I was on watch 8 to 12 in the evening, and about 9 o'clock Captain Tozer, he was a master of that ship, he came up on the bridge and said, "Is everything all right?" And yeah, he says, "Right, well, I'll be in my cabin if you want me." And he went down, and then shortly after that we were torpedoed. We never saw the... We were zigzagging, we were following instructions, we were zigzagging, and we was hit underneath the bridge. The lad at the wheel, I can't remember his name, he let out an awful scream, and he left his post and ran straight out onto the starboard wing and jumped over the side. So that was the end of him. I never ever, I mean, he'd just thrown his life away. I realised what had happened, and I suppose training steps in then. Automatically I went to ring the alarm bells. I don't think it was necessary because the ship was blazing up and everybody must have felt the torpedoes, and it had struck us more or less under the bridge. I didn't think I'd received any hurt at all. Anyway, there was nothing I could do. There wasn't a thing you could do. I'd rung the alarm bells and the fires were coming up, so it was a case of get off the bridge. Well, we'd already got escape lines rigged up from the bridge down to the foredeck, and I went over the top and down one of these and found my way up to the forecastle. And on the forecastle there was numerous men had managed to get up there, and the mate arrived up there and he said, "We've got to get something out of here that'll float," because the lifeboats, there were no lifeboats at the forward end of the ship. They went down inside the forecastle to look for, rummage around, see what would be floatable, and then the master arrived, being helped along by another one of the crew, but he was obviously, he was injured. He looked as though he'd got a leg very badly damaged. I went to see what I could do to help the old man, as we call the skipper. The skipper's always the old man. And I said to him, I said, "If we can't get to a boat," I said, "you come over the side, I'll go over the side with you. I was a strong swimmer, and we'll hang on to something, see what we can do." And he said, "No, you can't jump from a moving ship." About this time, somebody let out a yell and said, "There's a lifeboat being got away on the port side." The mate, a man called Tom Finch, he shouted out to everybody, "Come on, let's go and try and get this boat." Well, I was still trying to coax the captain to come with us, and they'd gone, and I saw the boat pull out from the side of the ship. And the master said to me, he said, "You go." And I could see that if I didn't go, you know, that was going to be the end of all of us. So I shut off the forecastle and got onto the side of the side and decided I'd go after the lifeboat. And I was wearing a loose t-shirt top, pair of shorts, and a pair of canvas shoes. We used to call them brothel creepers in those days, big thick soles on. And I remember, I don't know why, but it's something that's stuck in my mind ever since. I took my shoes off and then made sure they were neatly put together at the side before I went over. And then I dived in and started swimming after the boat, by which time there was patches of oil burning all around. And I don't know how long I was swimming, for some considerable time, because the boat had pulled away. And I eventually got to the boat, and one of the lads pushed a oar over for me to get hold of and pull me alongside, and I scrambled in. But before I got there, afterwards, I got my leg pulled a bit, because they said every time I went up on the crest of a wave, I was shouting, "Wait for me, for Christ's sake, wait for me." Which I don't remember doing, but they swear blind, that's what I was saying. When I got in the boat, there was eventually 12 of us in the boat, but 4 were very seriously injured, which those 4 we buried at sea. The lad that had passed the oar to me turned out to be an apprentice, one of our apprentices, a lad called Donald Clark. And he was awarded the George Cross. The second mate had also got in the boat, but his innards was split open, and all his innards was hanging out, and he was in an awful mess. We bundled him up, doubled him up to try and hold him together, but they all died. There's 4 of them. There's 4 of them died, and we had to bury him at sea. An aeroplane spotted us, came and circled us, and signalled to us that we had been spotted. They'd let us know they'd spotted us, and they would report us. And they circled down ever so low, and they dropped out a barrel of water, but it hit the sea and just shattered. But fortunately, the boat was well stocked. As third mate, one of my duties was to maintain the lifeboats. And I had my own ideas about this. Being brought up at Trinity House, being trained at Trinity House, our tutor there, one of our tutors, was a good bloke. He was an ex-naval man, but he was a very good man. And he'd give me the idea that the more that you're fixed in a boat, the better it was, because when a boat goes down, or if an accident happens, very often the boats get upended, and if things fall out, they're not there for anybody else's use. So virtually, I had everything tied in with boat lace. It's not very heavy stuff, but it's enough just to hold stuff in. And I had everything that was in the boat was fixed with boat lacing, and that stood us in very good stead. Now, the boat being got away was the senior wireless operator. He'd managed to get down out of his accommodation and got to the boat, and there was nobody else there, and he attempted to launch it on his own. Well, you've got davits at each end, so you've got to have 2 lots of ropes, and he tried to do it, and the ropes took charge and took all the flesh off his hands, and poor lad, and the boat was hanging. And that's when the mate and some of the others spotted this boat and said they were going to try and get there, and they did manage to launch it, you see. But me hanging back with the captain, it meant I didn't get in. However, having been in the lifeboat, the next day another aeroplane turned up and circled us and dropped us some supplies on a parachute. And they'd also brought a doctor out, and the doctor was going to parachute down as well. But when they saw how many sharks was around that area, he decided he wouldn't jump. And they sent out a boat to pick us up. We were about 150 miles off the coast of Georgetown. And we were eventually picked up, and they took us into Paramaribo in Dutch Guiana. And then we were put into a refugee camp. That was a place called Oorlogsfonds. I don't know how to spell it. And it was run by the Dutch. And they were very kind to us, and we were there. I can't tell you just how long it was now, but eventually we were told that if we wanted to get out of the place, there would be a truck would come and pick us up at 6 o'clock one morning and take us out to the Zandere airfield, which was run by the Americans. The American 99th Bomber Squadron was there. And they did. They came and took us, but they wouldn't take us all the way. You see, Dutch Guiana wasn't in the war at that time, and there was Germans and all sorts of people there, so it was a little bit dodgy. And they dropped us off, I don't know, a few miles away from the airfield, and we had to make our way through the jungle to the airfield. And we walked out onto the Zandere airfield and walked into an American soldier who was on guard duty walking up and down. And I think he got a bigger fright than we did. But they decided they'd give us a lift out. And they were due to go to Bermuda. And I thought that was smashing. So did some of the other lads. But the mate, who was senior, of course, and took charge, he said no, he if possible, he wanted to go to a British possession. So they said that they would reroute and drop us off at Trinidad. And that was the worst thing that could have happened, because there was about 15,000 distressed British seamen on Trinidad. It was horrible. However, Don and I, he was a wireless operator, who were great pals, I said to him, we've got to get out of this place. He said, well, how are we going to do that? I said, well, we'll stow away on something. And we did. We stowed away on an American transport. They were taking some of the sailors away, but they were named and numbered, but we wangled to get on. Me and Don, we got on and sat down amongst this lot, and we were out at sea before they discovered we were there. So there was no turning back, and we was taken over to Baltimore. And in Baltimore, we was docketed and all the rest of it, and they gave us train tickets to get to New York, because our Eagle Oil and Shipping Company had agents in New York, and so they gave us tickets to get there. And we went to New York, went to our agents, and they fitted us up in the Abbey Hotel. And Eagle Oil used to have I think the 14th floor, I think they used to rent there. So they had rooms up there, and we were put up there. And was there until eventually I was routed home on an old whaler. I can't remember the name of it now. I've got the name of it somewhere. Memory beats me. And eventually I arrived home someone in late October. Home for so long, I took another exam, took my mate's examination while I was home, and then went back to sea. And I went and joined I was on 2 or 3 different ships, but the other one of merit would be the old Ambrosio, San Ambrosio. And the San Ambrosio was kitted out to do oiling at sea. Naval vessels oil at sea, but they usually use their own naval store ships to do it. Merchant ships had never been used for this, and we were one of the first ones to get fitted up to do this, which was a new experience. And on one trip, we managed to oil 7 destroyers, clean the lines, and oil 2 corvettes between sunrise and sunset in a force 7 gale. And that was something. That's something. We also had a deck cargo of depth charges, and we transferred 25 depth charges over to 1 destroyer in 26 minutes, which was some going. There was some going. That made me a poor man. I never achieved the war ruined my career. I should, by all logical accounts, have ended up a master of a ship or a pilot on the Humber, and I lost both because medically discharged, nobody wanted you anymore. And that's how I came to be in this job. And this is strange, is because when I took this job, it was a temporary job. And I'm still here, and I've never been made up permanent. And I started off as a junior clerk in the office and ended up as the estate clerk. I think sitting in the lifeboat and seeing men burn to death and not being able to do anything to help, that still upsets me. That's a pretty dreadful thing. Pretty dreadful thing. Just to be helpless, so you couldn't do anything. Not a blind thing you could do. It's something that'll live with me all my life, I suppose. I'll never get rid of that. But the other thing that I've learned from it all is that fighting doesn't get you anywhere. I wouldn't say I'm a pacifist, but I can't see that war does us any good at all. Wars start all over the place. They start with kids fighting at school, or you fight with your neighbours, or you fight with your partner, and where does it get you? It doesn't get you anywhere. So they always used to say that I was a bit pugnacious, but I'm afraid as I've got older, I'm not pugnacious anymore. I like a quiet life, and I like to be friends with everybody. And, well, that's about all I can say, really. It was for the action on the San Emiliano. The apprentice was awarded a George Cross. The first mate and the chief radio officer were awarded a George Medal, and I was awarded an MBE. Who decided I was to have it, or what was a specific thing that was given for, I've no idea. I've no idea. But it's not something that I've ever... When I was told that I'd been awarded it, I said it would have been a lot better if they'd given us a crate of beer to share amongst the lads. But I was going to turn it down, because I've got the Atlantic Star and the Italy Star and the war medals and all of the paraphernalia. Well, I've got them. I don't know where they are. I've never worn them. I don't believe in this kind of thing. Because he was in the army and didn't get anything, don't mean to say he was any better or any worse than me. So why should I have it? No, it doesn't do a lot for me, that. But my mum and my dad, well, my mum, she expanded 20 times when my son's got an MBE, you know. So I had to take her, and so we went to the palace to get this, and it was their day. It really was their day. And Eagle Oil and Shipping Company were great. They put us in the Grand Hotel Southampton Row, really first-class accommodation, all laid on and everything. And it was absolutely marvellous. Mum had a new outfit. Mum had a new outfit, and Dad had to have a new suit. I don't think there was any great act of courage at all. I think I was just like everybody else. No, I don't think I was any great. I don't think there was any great act of courage there. No, I can't think so. I once went up the mast. Yes, I suppose I once went up a mast to re-reeve a signal halyard when we'd got a full gale on, and that was on the San Emiliano, and we couldn't signal because the halyard had broke, and it was such an awful gale, and the ship was dancing about rather, and the master said he didn't think it was fair to ask any of the crew to go up, so I volunteered, and so perhaps that was a damn silly thing to do. Because one minute he was looking down at the sea at that side, and the next minute he was looking at the sea at that side. So perhaps that was it. But I don't know about anything else, love. Never ever thought that I wouldn't see the war through. No, genuinely, I never ever thought I wouldn't see the war through. But I was frightened. I was frightened when we went down the MBE and we had those Stuka bombers diving. I didn't like that. No, I didn't like that. It's strange. No, I didn't like that. But no, I can't think so. We were once shelled somewhere down the Caribbean. The Sharnos was supposed to be down there, and we ate this shelling. And we turned tail and scuttled. And we all thought, oh, we don't want to get sunk by that ruddy thing. But